All right. Welcome back, everyone. Happy FOMC day. It's a little dark on me over here. Hold on. There we go. How we doing? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back, guys. One second. All right. Felice FOMC. There you go. Welcome back, guys. Happy Wednesday. Yesterday, better day for me. Green, I guess you could say, is better. Good trade on NVIDIA. I think good idea yesterday. Felt good about it. Didn't follow through as much as I wanted to, but, that's trading. However, I thought I had a good thought process on that trade, so happy about it. Just grinding back. You guys know I've been open about some of the struggles I've had. This is it. This is I've been here plenty of times, so just we show up every day. So again, yesterday a little bit better. Just gonna focus on my discipline this week. Keep grinding. See what we can do today. We do have FOMC and GDP. GDP in the pre-market. FOMC around 2 o'clock. So gonna be a little bit cautious, right? Not gonna push anything that I don't like. There is some pretty interesting setups actually out there today, so could be something to sort of take advantage of before that 2 o'clock FOMC. Hopefully within like the first hour of the day, we get some type of action. So we'll see. But definitely eyes on semiconductors again. Definitely eyes on MRVL this morning. This was the stock we talked about yesterday, and MRVL is up huge in the pre-market on some news, so that's very interesting. Margin, saw that you're in the swing, and congratulations, Margin. Hell yeah. Yesterday, our top watch, AMD, straight out of the gates, vertical. So that was sick. So really nice watches yesterday. We were all over it. And a lot of things we talked about yesterday happened. A little bit of weakness on the overall market, more than I expected, to be honest. I was looking for that gap fill. I think it went a little bit deeper than that yesterday. So some things to watch. Definitely some things to watch, and a little bit of divergences on the market. So it's getting interesting. It's getting a little bit interesting out there. Definitely, it's getting a little bit interesting, especially with some major data and some major earnings approaching. So stay on your toes is my recommendation. I'm staying very much on my toes. I got a lot of cash, on the sidelines, just sort of waiting it out, trading with what I can, and just staying very liquid, staying very nimble right now. But so far, so good. All right, so that's my spiel of the day. Pretty much the same watches as we've had all week. It's the same thing again, but there is a little NASDAQ level. There's a little NASDAQ level over there that we're going to go ahead and talk about that I think you need to be paying attention to today. There's some potential for lower highs here, just slightly. So I want to talk about it. Herb, appreciate that, Herb. Thank you, brother. Thank you for supporting the live streams. Thank you so much. All right, let's do it. Let's jump in. Let's go to the circle. So, today is an interesting day. Hopefully a successful day. Let me turn this light on real quick. Here we go. Where'd my face go? Oh, there it is. If you guys could, please press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. That would be appreciated. Let's get 1,000 likes in here early, huh? We got 1,100 people, 300 likes. Let's get the likes up early.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Did you hear Alexa? She just said she's not quite sure how to help me with that. I mean, you guys know how. I don't know if you heard that. Did I say Alexa? All right. So, today, economic calendar. Let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. Let's get that going. Where is my... Here it is here. Bear with me. Economic calendar. One of you guys said on the comments yesterday is that, I think we've been looking at too many stocks on the live streams. And you know what, man? I do agree with that person. I forgot who that was. But I think we're going to sort of try to define a little bit more, get a little bit more exclusive, a little bit more selective on the live stream, my friends, into like what actually is a great watch on the day for me, rather than just sort of spamming out tickers. Just really get selective and really spend more time on like top names, top setups. I think I want to do that a little bit more. That might be a little bit of a change we make. Just like more time on better setups rather than flipping through BS. So, yeah, I think we're going to do that. I like that idea. It gives me more time to focus on, just better stuff. And, yeah, so I hope you guys do like that. I think that's going to be a good change. We'll see how it goes. But, yeah, all right. And hopefully that gives us more time to like do other stuff on the live streams. I feel like I want to do some more stuff on the live streams. So like I don't know, just some like more fun stuff instead of just like going to the end with tickers. Like maybe there's like a segment at the end of the live stream for something to have some fun. I don't know. So I'm trying to think of new ideas. But anyways, Wednesday, Rusty, appreciate that. Wednesday is today. We have non-farm employment change in 8 minutes. 9 minutes. So we'll look at that. Then GDP in 24 minutes. That's at 8:30 a.m. So those are going to be our two economic data events here to start the morning. Then 10 o'clock today, we got pending home sales, which I really don't expect to really move much, but something to watch. And then finally, today at 2 o'clock, we do have Mr. Powell on the mic. Good afternoon. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on dual mandate, blah, blah, blah. Same shit every time. We'll see if there's any changes today. I don't think there is. I think there's a very low expectation of changes today. I don't expect that. But we'll see if there's any changes on the 2 o'clock FOMC statement, then the 2:30 press conference, and then that's that for today. After that, then we have some major earnings, as we've been talking about. So earnings right here. And so today is Meta, Microsoft, Robinhood, Qualcomm, ARM. So huge names today after close. Huge. A lot of semiconductors. Right, we got semiconductor, we got semiconductor, we got semiconductor. So a big day for the semiconductors on right here and these right here. That's big semiconductor action. This is big tech action. This is some crypto action here. Probably applied blockchain as well. So you got some decent names out there today, guys. Tomorrow, big names, right? Pretty decent names down here. AbbVie, big name. So just know you're loaded up. So just know that as we approach the end of this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, should get pretty interesting. Now, let's jump straight into the technicals. So today, there is a very clear rejection that continues to come in here on the NASDAQ futures, and that is right here at the 23,530, 23,515. This is the level that made me relieve myself of any longs overnight. And I do like my decision on that call. I do like that decision. I don't like how yesterday the market failed back under the Monday highs, right? That is important. Right here, right? Look at this Monday high. Look at the rejections on Monday. Look how we failed back under that. That is a telling move, right? We failed back under the Monday high. And you can see right here in the pre-market, we are failing that level again. So there is starting to become some selling here around the 23,515, 23,530, and you got, I don't want to call it that. I don't want to bring out this word because I think it's sort of stupid to bring out this word, but it is potentially this word, and that is a blow off top, right? A BOT, a bot. A blow off top on the NASDAQ futures, whereas the ES did not do anything of the sort. This is a really bearish SMT is what the fancy boys call it, right? It's really just a divergence between the ES and NQ. It's very major, right? Look at them. Look at how different these two markets are. This is the ES high from Sunday, and this is the NASDAQ high, right? Look at the difference here. So a very big different, very big divergence there on the two markets. Something to be paying attention to, right? And you can see rejections, rejections, rejections stepping in on the NASDAQ futures. We now have a very clear high on the week to be paying attention to. And some weakness did come into this overnight, or I'm sorry, intraday yesterday. So I'm not saying that, you start ringing the alarms for the top of the market, because there's still plenty of demand below. But I think you at least want to be somewhat cautious of what's going on here, especially into FOMC, major earnings, right, into the end of this week. The question marks are definitely here, right, on the next move. And we're likely to see something pretty decent. Sar, I'm going to call you Sargil. I'm going to guess that J is silent, so I'm going to go with Sargil. Good morning, bro. Thank you for SoFi. Sold at 25 yesterday. Nice, man. Congratulations. Nice jobs. Thank you for the $9.99. ELV short term. Yeah, we'll get into that. Let me run through everything else. Let me put a little note. I'll write a little note for myself here. Hold on, just so I don't forget. ELV, ELV. All right. Let's jump back in. Appreciate that, man. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for the support. So today, right, a little bit cautious there. Something to pay attention to. There is, there's a little bit of a rejection coming in. Now, why can't you be bearish? Because you're still above these highs, right? You really can't start saying, oh, man, time to short the hell out of this market. Not really, right? Because you're still not even breaking these lows right here. So, really, what is this? It's just a channel. It's just a channel. You're getting sort of stuck in the midway of the channel. You're seeing some highs come in. You're seeing some rejections. It's something to pay attention to. But is it like, oh, shit, we just broke last week's, we broke back below this week's lows. We broke back under last week's highs? Not really, right? We have not done that. Now, if we see that, then it's something to pay attention to, right? If we see a failure back under this Wednesday, Thursday high here, and we start seeing a fail and a rejection here, right? And you start, making lower highs and lower lows, then maybe there's something to pay attention to on the downside. But for now, it's really just a channel, right? If you zoom out, you relax and just look at the key levels, you can see major highs, major highs, major highs, still very clearly holding as lows for now, right? So for now, it's not like you're ringing the alarms. Now, if you start breaking these highs right here and you start turning them into rejections, then you have something to be paying attention to, right? If we do fail back under this 420, 400 zone, then you're probably coming back down to this 300, right? You're probably coming back down to this low, back to these highs, back to these highs right here. If you break under 300, then you're coming back down to the daily 20, which is actually a great spot for the market to come back down to. That would match up with the daily 20 and likely down at these demands around 23,100, 23,170 area. So something to watch, something to pay attention to. You definitely have some interest in whether there's some downside here, but you can't short this market in an uptrend if you're still holding previous week highs. You just can't do it. So really not interesting. This is going to be my major spot to watch. 400 to 420 is definitely the big demand low. You can see yesterday that we saw a big hold of that level, right? Even into the end of day, sort of panic downside. Look at what held. Bam, straight off this level. I mean, to a T, right off 420, right? Which is the exact 420, which is the exact highs right here, 420, 420. So that is still definitely a demand. And you can't be short into it because you could get bamboozled like that. So this is your NTZ today, right? This is your NTZ today, to be quite honest. You can clearly see your NTZ. You can clearly see where the shit show is going to happen today. It's going to happen between these highs and these highs, right? Which is right here. It's between 420 to 400 and 515 to 530. This is where the pre-FOMC shit show takes place, right? So it's pretty damn clean. Now, if you can get above this 530, right, you'll go into the 585. If you can get below this 420, 400, you'll go into the 300. In here, it's probably going to be a disaster. That's probably where there's a 95% chance, right, that you stay within this zone before 2 o'clock today. That would be my assumption. So just make sure you're aware of that. We just got data at 8:15. Market's really not moving off of it just yet. I'm assuming in 15 minutes for GDP, you'll get a little bit more of a reaction. S&P 500. So let's take a look at the S&P. So the S&P 500, a little bit different than the NASDAQ here. And there's a very, very clear level that needs to hold on the S&P 500 here. And that to me is this Thursday low right here. That's 63.91. 63.90, 63.91.50 is the exact low. I would say if you break under this Thursday low right here, that you would fall very quickly into the 63.75, 63.78 level. That is this high right here. You have a little bit of a straight up move right there that I think you could target on the downside if you break under Thursday's lows at 63.91. 63.91, Thursday's lows, I would put that as a must-hold level on your charts. That is what maintains this market bullish, right? That is what maintains the structure here if you stay above that Thursday low. If you break below this, then I think you start to slip towards these highs, right? And then you eventually could slip towards this 50-57 zone, which also would be catching up to where the daily 20 is. Excuse me. So some interesting spots there. Now on the upside, we can see, look at what the S&P did yesterday. Very, very clean. The S&P failed this Sunday futures open, right? Look at this Sunday futures open right here. See that right there? See that low? Look at that perfect rejection on the S&P yesterday. That is beautiful. That is a break and retest rejection right under that low. Right here, right here. Very clean. Now look what else is happening. You have these highs right here from Thursday. Rejections, rejections, holds. Look at this. Look at yesterday intraday at 64.20. You couldn't get above it, right? Look at 64.20 yesterday, right here. Bam, 64.20. Rejection. That's the exact highs right here turning into failures. And that is also the exact failure point of this pre-market, right here. So 64.20 looking like a little bit of a failure point for now. So what do I want to see for that? If you want to see this S&P go higher, you need to see this downtrend get, taken out, something like this, right? You need to see this downtrend get taken out, and you need to see a reclaim back above 64.20. Back above here, turn this back into support, then you're traveling back to this high here, then you're probably traveling back to the all-time highs. But you need to get back above this 64.20 spot that continues to fail here in the pre-market. Very clear. And yesterday intraday. So let's see. Let's see. This is probably your NTZ today, right? Right through here. 64.20 to 63.90. This is probably where you don't want to get involved, and it's very self-explanatory because it's the exact zone that you didn't want to get involved yesterday, right? Look at this. It's the same. You're in the same area as yesterday, later day, after the downside, and after you just sort of chopped around for the rest of the day. Same exact zone. So I would want to see us get under Thursday's lows or over this Thursday high. All right, I would want to see us get outside of this channel right here. If we can get outside of it, you can trade to here or you can trade maybe to here. But we'll have to see what the data does, and we'll have to see what the reactions are intraday. Okay? Pretty clear levels here, man. Pretty clear levels here. Same thing with the SPY. SPY is the same thesis, right? You can see Thursday's highs, Thursday's lows. 633.50 to 636.50. That's a 3-point range of NTZ. Very clear. Over 636.50, you probably get your squeeze back up towards that 639, which was a very clear failure at that Sunday futures open. And then here at the Thursday low at 633.50, you break that, you're going right here. That's a nice $2 downside move that I would be targeting. This is a very nice short right here. Now, why do I say this is a very nice short? Well, let me show you the volume profile, my friends. And I already know what it looks like. You can tell what things look like by looking at the chart, right? Where do you expect there to be volume? There's probably volume here, and there's probably volume right here, right? Because what has happened, right? Consolidation, consolidation. Where is there no consolidation? Right in here, right? There's no consolidation right here. This is just straight up. So if we put on a volume profile, I would bet my life, and we'll see if I'm about to, be here in about 10 minutes. I would bet a pretty decent amount of money. Maybe not my life, right? Let's not bet my life on anything. But let me bet a decent amount of money that there's a lack of volume right there, right? Bam, look. Look at this, right? See that? Why is that? Why is that there? Well, it's because you had no consolidation in that zone. You consolidated here. You consolidated here. You had a lack of consolidation through this straight up move. And you can see that's where the volume shelf falls off, right? You have a fall off in the volume right here, right? And so those are the areas that you target for quick moves through that low volume area, right? Low volume area. That's where you look for quick and aggressive moves in the market. So, right, that's definitely interesting to me today. If you break under Thursday's lows, then I know I have low volume down into this 631.50, possibly down into this 630, and I could probably target a short side trade for almost $2 on the SPY, which would be a very decent move, right? That's on option contracts, that's at least 50% on a profit, right? 50% profits right there, if you catch it correctly. So definitely something to watch today, right? Under 633.50 into 631.50, that is definitely a little bit of a pocket of opportunity. That's what you'd like to call it, right? A pocket of opportunity. A poo. I make a lot of weird, man, I don't know. I love acronyms. A poo right here. This is a poo. A pocket of opportunity. So something to watch. The poo area, 633.50 to 631.50. Watch that area. See if there's an opportunity in that zone. Oh, man. I'm losing my mind. 636.50, right? Yeah, let's move on. QQQ. So, QQQ. Is that a real candle? Was this a real candle? I don't know if it was. Bot, then poo. Can anyone confirm whether this was a real candle? Or was this just one of those wick candles that we see in the pre-market? I'm not sure. It was, Ty? Okay. So it actually did trade down here? Okay. So if it actually did trade down here, then you can already see how strong, right, this zone below in the Qs is, and why I still am cautious on shorting the NASDAQ, right? Because look at this. Look at this zone right here. Anywhere between 566, 567, you definitely need to be careful on being short, right? You need to be careful on being short into these highs here, right? That turned into lows, that turned into huge lows, turned into lows, and even right here turned into lows, right? I would be very careful between 566, 567 on the QQQ, and I would be very cautious if you find yourself short if we're trading through here. This continues to be a spot that just won't give up. Now, if you break 566, if you fail back under this Thursday and Wednesday high, and you fail back under this Friday low, you fail under that Monday low, you fail under yesterday's low, if you start failing under 566, then I think you will get this move down into these lows here at 564 and possibly down into 56250. Okay, so make sure you're aware of that. Now, for the upside, it's pretty damn clean. I mean, it's almost perfect where you need to get above on the QQQ. It's actually quite beautiful. Now, if you look at this chart, look at the 569 spot, right? Look at this. Here's your low from the Sunday futures open. You rejected that on Monday pretty much perfectly. And what did you do yesterday in the intraday? Look at these failures at 569. And look at the failures in the pre-market at 569. So, pretty damn perfect, right? 569, 569, 569, 569. That is a must-break level for upside. I am going to be very cautious of taking any directional trades within this zone today, right? This is very clear of an NTZ. If you get over 569, I think you will see your upside to the 570s again, right? You'll see your nice little push here. If you fail under this 566 low, you're going to get your downside. So right here is where I'd be a little bit cautious on what happens, and I would look for opportunities on the outside of that channel. Okay? Pretty clean setups today, man. I like these theses. Just, my job now is to trade it correctly. You set this up, you create your game plan, but it's about trading it correctly now. That's the hardest part. So the easy part is creating the thesis, and usually your thesis is right before risk is on the table, right? Because right now we're thinking without risk. We're thinking logically. When you start having risk on the table, you start thinking illogically at times, right? It's very true. That risk messes up your thought process. When you don't have risk on the table, it's pretty damn clean, right? It's like, okay, clearly we need to break 569. I don't want to be long into that. Clearly, I don't want to short into the lows of Monday and Tuesday. And so, I'm seeing a very tight, when I have what's the word I'm looking for? When I have competing arguments, right? Pretty much that's the word. These are like competing ideas, right? I don't want to be long into this. I don't want to be short into this, right? And then you start to see how tight that is, right? That's when you start to say, okay, I just really don't like this zone. Because I don't want to be long into 569. I don't want to be short into 567 previous day low. And so that's just super tight. And maybe I just say, I don't want to trade within here. But then you can say, all right, if you get above this, I'm long. If you get below this, I'm short, right? Something like that. So just about creating that thesis, creating that idea, and following it, that's the hardest part. IWM continues to hit a brick wall up here at 226. It is holding the daily 20 again, and the last time it did that, it held up very nicely. So I wonder if the IWM has another daily 20 SMA bounce in it. However, there's something up here at 226 that's just saying, no, all right, not yet. We're not ready. So be careful here at 226. This IWM high is very, very heavy. I would be careful of that today. On the Bitcoin side, you continue to get this very tight consolidation. Really no moves going on here on Bitcoin, all right? Just stuck under like this 122 and stuck above this 115 zone, right? And you're just sort of stuck. So I think you sort of wait this out on Bitcoin, right? I think you cool off on the Coinbase trades, the MSTR trades, you cool off a little bit on the Hood trades, and you wait for this to make a move. That's really, like when Bitcoin was making this move, right? Coinbase was sick, Hood was sick, Circle was sick, right? There was some sick trades during like a real-time move on Bitcoin. But now that Bitcoin's consolidating, you want to back off some of those trades a little bit, right? You're just not getting that juice on the pretty much the thing that's driving those stocks. So just be careful of that, right? Look for Bitcoin, keep an eye on it, right? Make sure you're watching it every day, but just make sure you know that, hey, we're in a little bit of a consolidation phase on Bitcoin, and I think I want to back off the aggression on those stocks for now, all right? SMH before the data. SMH must, as you guys can see in the title, I think SMH must hold here today. This is a huge, huge spot for the SMH. This is really going to show what the next move is, in my opinion. And of course, right, we have ARM and we have Qualcomm earnings tonight, right? This is earnings tonight. ARM and Qualcomm, which will affect SMH, right? Something to pay attention to. You have very clear highs at 293.50 on the SMH, right? Look at all these wick highs. They're all at the exact same spot, pretty much, right? This high, 293.20. This high, 293.41. This high, 293.50. This high, 293.53, right? So very, very clear highs there. Now, SMH, you probably want to see that hold. If that fails back under, you could see some weakness. And the SMH has been the driver of this market. Signs of weakness on the SMH could be signs of weakness on the market, okay? Something to pay attention to today. Make sure you're watching those semis. Let's see what GDP has for us. While we have a second, please press that like button, subscribe to the channel. That would be very much appreciated. Let's get us to 1,000 likes. What are we at? 1,034. Let's keep it going. Okay, so GDP reaction is slightly higher for the moment. We'll see what happens at the 64.20 spot. We'll see if it rejects or if it holds back above here, or if it just stays within it. GDP 2.0 versus 2.2. Hamish, thank you, Hamish. So GDP slightly lower than expected on a quarter-over-quarter basis. Interesting. 2.0 versus 2.2. And the market is basically just failing that 64.20 again. GDP. Okay, the price index. PCE 2.5 versus 2.4. Non-farm was 104 versus 77. Wow, so big increase in employment. GDP, okay, so GDP 3 versus 2.5. That's the actual GDP reading right there. 3 versus 2.5, SME said. So slightly higher. I'm mistaken. Okay, right there. 3 versus 2.5. That's your GDP number. So slightly higher quarter over quarter. A half percentage point. Market reacting pretty much nothing. So what does this mean? This means follow the levels. All right, that's what this means to me. The levels are what to watch, right? The levels are still rejecting. So 636.50 on the SPY, 64.20 on the ES. Nasdaq still under that 23,530. QQQ still under that 569. So levels are leveling. Okay. SMH 293.50. Little bit sloppy here, SMH yesterday. So I'm a little bit, sort of questioned of like, okay, which level is it going to be on this SMH? But I do, when I look at this 4 hour, right, really what I'm looking to see is, does a 4 hour candle clean up either above or below these highs right here, right? That's what I'm waiting to see. Do we see an important fail candle underneath this high, or do we see this really hold up? That's something I'm watching closely on the SMH today. All right, so with that said, we've gone over our thesis on the markets, on the SMH, on the IWM, on the ESNQ, SPY Qs. Let's jump into some individual equities. If you guys could, please press that like button, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for the live streams. We do this every single day, starting at 8 a.m. Tesla. So, not yet interested in Tesla because it's still in a very tight consolidation range, but I think it's enough to bring up today, right? And something I will sort of monitor moving forward. The larger term time frame charts are still very intriguing, all right? I'll give that to Tesla. It's really not so much the short term trading that I'm interested in. I'm interested in whether the large term setup plays out, right? And the large term setup is one to be watching. There's no doubt, right? Like this wedge here on the weekly chart right here is definitely something that is very intriguing in the future. I don't think it's that intriguing at the moment, but it's intriguing to make sure you know what's forming here. And if this thing does end up finding life outside of this wedge or breaks down under the wedge, right, there's going to be a big trade on Tesla. But for now, it's something you just sort of leave by the wayside. It's not really something I'm interested in trading inside of the range. Now, what we can watch today, if you are so interested in Tesla, is the fact that Tesla is failing back under the 50 SMA, right? You can see right here, failures, and you tried to hold it, right? And you failed back under it. So you're failing back under the 50 at 324, 325 area. If you get back above that, I do believe there's an interesting long up to 330 again, right? And if you get above 330, then there's absolutely an interesting long. And I would continue to look to see if pullbacks get bought up in this zone here. All right. So I would continue to look to see if pullbacks get bought up between 315 to 318. That is also the daily 20 SMA, which is right here. Right. The daily 20 sitting right at 315. So you're trying to maintain above the daily 20 right now, which is nice. But you need to get outside of this channel, right? If I could put alerts, you need to get outside of 325, 324.50, and you need to get or under 315, right? That's really where the next trade sets up. I would not trade Tesla within this zone right here, okay? You can clearly see what happened with Tesla yesterday there. I would not get involved in it here today. So set your alerts over that 50 SMA and set your alerts under the daily 20. You're basically just trading between moving averages, okay? So not that interested in Tesla today. I'm not going to spend too much time here just watching those levels and setting alerts. I am interested in NVIDIA today, and I'll show you why. So the reason I'm interested in NVIDIA today is because NVIDIA had some underperformance yesterday, right, which is sort of interesting and a decent pullback. The level I'm watching closely today is 177. Now, the reason I'm watching 177 is because that is the high of day here on Monday. We can see 177 on Monday turning into a failure, obviously breaking out in the after hours, but you gave back that entire move and you rejected under that level. Now, think about how many people are stuck long, right, in this area. Right, there's probably quite a bit. And me, myself, I longed NVIDIA for a profit yesterday into the high, was looking for the breakout move, right, was definitely There's a helicopter over my house. Uh-oh, boys. They're looking for me. They're looking for me. They know I'm around here somewhere. 177, right? Think about how many people are trapped long above this level. I was definitely one of the people that longed here looking for the breakout. When I didn't get it, I took the position off. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't take the position off, right? And they're now looking at this like, shit, if NVIDIA doesn't get back over this Monday high, I might be sort of stuck here, right? The longs might be locked out. So this is sort of interesting for me, right? If there is market weakness, and there's SMH weakness today, which is a follow-through of yesterday's weakness, I think there's some decent downside opportunities here on NVIDIA, to be honest. If we do not get back over 177, I think you're going to move lower today. If you get above 177, right? If you get above 177, then you get back your life, right? I think you find a lot of life, actually. If you can reclaim that Monday high, if you can reclaim this yesterday all-day rejection, then I think you can look for NVIDIA longs again. But until then, right? Until then, there is a reason to think that this could fail. And so just be aware of 177 today. Definitely a key spot. Pay attention to what NVIDIA does here. A reclaim would be bullish. A failure below would definitely be bearish. Because that is failing back under that Monday high. After a pre-market gap up and a trap back under it, right? That's sort of interesting. If you fail 177, I think you're coming back down to 174, 173, which would then, for me, create a long opportunity, right? A pullback to 173 would be my long opportunity. I would like that. Back down possibly into these highs, into these lows. Look to see if that creates a pullback long, right? Or deeper back into like the 171, 169 zone. So just watch 177 today. That's a big spot. AMD, another big watch. And I want to just preface this. I want to say it's not time to panic attack on the long side, but it's definitely time to think about what's happening here. So AMD has moved about 140% to the upside into this triple top on the weekly chart, right? You can see right here, rejection, rejection, big rejection, right? Look at this rejection here. 184 to 187, that's the zone. You have moved up into that area, and you are starting to, question whether you need something for a pullback before you can fuel that next move higher. And if we go to the 4-hour chart, right, we can see we've been pretty much straight up into this major weekly supply. Now, if we go to the volume profile here, you are going to see how there's a very low amount of volume into these highs, right? Take a look at this volume profile. Look at how the volume has just sort of died off as we've squeezed on this leg higher. You've had a very low move of volume, right? I mean, look at the difference here. Anything over 150 has been completely sort of moving higher on low volume. So there is a reason to just not be a total pig here. There's a reason for it. I'm not saying that AMD is going to tank. That's not what I'm saying. But I would say being a pig here probably does hurt you at some point. It's very low volume upside into major weekly supply. Is there a reason for a pullback long? Yes. Where's the pullback? For me, this is the spot you should be watching. It's right here. These highs at $174 per share. Right here. Right here. This weekly high and this weekly high, 174. 174 on the weekly. That's right here. See where this volume picks up? That is what I am going to be watching today on AMD. Does AMD hold, right, or fail back under 174? It's right around 174.50, 174. Do we hold this Monday high like we did here on Tuesday and we are doing right now? Do we maintain above it? If we do, AMD is just fine, right? If we hold 174, do not be bearish on this stock. Do not look for pullbacks if we hold above this high. This is still a very good hold. Now, if you fail below 174 and you fail below this little Monday low at 172, I think there is a reason to be looking for downside, right? Look at the volume under 172 here. It's pretty much gone. I mean, there's nothing. So for me, right, if we fail under this 172 after hitting this weekly high and we see a failure back under that 172, I would trade this back down to 162, right? And I would potentially look to trade this back down to 150 if that's what we need to do, all right? We will see. We will see. There is no reason to be short bias or looking for downside on AMD if we're above this 172, 174. No reason. Now, if we get below it, there's a very good reason. So I definitely want to be watching what AMD does today in this demand zone. Big watch. Big watch. All right. MRVL. This was one of our major watches yesterday, and we have we have news in the pre-market, which just rockets this thing higher. So what a beautiful watch. And what did MRVL just do? It just filled the gap. MRVL just filled the gap in the pre-market, which is wild. What a call out. I mean, it's just so funny how it happens the day after we looked at this. Literally, we haven't looked at MRVL for months. The day we look at it yesterday, then you get this move today. Just insane. Someone's watching. But anyways, you just moved up into the 200 SMA, which is definitely an interesting spot, right? That was our target on the long into the 200 SMA. You just hit it. So something to watch there. Be careful of the 200. What I would be looking for today to see if there's more longs on MRVL would be a pullback to this high right here. I would love to get a pullback here to around this $80 level. If we can get a pullback here to $80 and then turn this previous high into a new low, that would be really nice. Or look to see if this can hold over the 200 SMA today. If you can hold over the 200 SMA today, then you probably have room up to this $92 level. So 200 SMA on watch for sure on MRVL today. Another one that I'll watch just because it's a semiconductor is Broadcom, 294, 295. Keeping eyes on that today. Seeing if there's pullback longs there. And then besides that, I got 3 more names for you today. The next one, SMCI. While this is a very nice hold, I just want to, put some zoomed out looks for you. Here's SMCI. Make sure you're paying attention to this, right? This is exactly like AMD. SMCI has traded higher aggressively, almost from these lows of around 124% into this weekly potential triple top, right? You have a weekly high here, you have a weekly high here, and you potentially could see another weekly high form here. That's between $65 and $70 per share. $64 and $70 per share. So just be aware of that. You are definitely closer to rejections than you are to holds in my eyes. And if you break under this $58 level, right, which you can see has really tried to hold, if you break under this $58 level, I can guarantee you that the volume profile dies off like crazy, right? And you can see that right there. So be aware that SMCI has had a beautiful run. Understand weekly highs are here, and just watch this 58. I like that 58 watch. If you hold 58, you're going higher. If you fail 58, you're going lower, right? So 58 is definitely sort of something I'm just monitoring slightly today. Now, here's my top watch of the day. If everything goes hunky-dory, right, and the market just keeps doing what it's doing, and we just keep going higher, this is my top watch. It's Google. Google just reclaimed the 195, 195.50 level that we have been looking at for almost a week now, right? We've been looking for this to reclaim for almost a week now. I've been waiting to see if Google can get back above. You know, that's definitely what Google's going to need the NASDAQ to be strong today. If the NASDAQ is strong today and we get upside on this market, Google is my top watch for upside, without a doubt. Google outperformed the hell out of the market yesterday. I mean, just insane. Look at Google versus the NASDAQ. NASDAQ was down. Google was up all day. So insane outperformance on Google. Definitely watching 195, 195.50 today. Okay? Last one. OKLO. Interested on the 4-hour. You got your retest. Previous highs. 4-hour retest lows. Let's see if this sets something up. All right, this is just going to sort of be a back burner watch that I keep on watching. You know, just sort of keep in the corner of the charts today to see what it's doing at 69.70. All right, so today is a day of semiconductor watches. It's a day of understanding the NTZ on the market, right? And it's a day of watching that Google setup for me. I'm going to be very disciplined. I'm going to come in with a good plan. Today we're live trading with the mentorship group, so looking forward to that. We got ADR live in the Discord, who's been absolutely crushing it. Shout out ADR. I mean, just absolutely annihilating some swing trades lately. So GG's to her. Love to have her in the chat. And I think you guys are starting to warm up to that. I think you're, you know, in the beginning it was, oh my God, where's Desi? Now it's like, oh, I can't wait for Wednesday. So no one likes me anymore. Everyone loves ADR. But that's good. It's good to have ADR in there. And happy to see some of her success lately. She's got a YouTube channel as well that she streams on, so very nice stuff. Boom boom time, that's right. Oh, ELV, that's right. ELV. ELV, Elevance Healthcare. Elevance Health. By first impressions, it does not look like it's doing very well. Let's see here. Okay. You definitely got some major weekly lows over here around 330, 350s. You got these highs here. Yeah, I mean, it looks like you might be sort of stuck in this zone here for quite some time now. This is the zone I would be watching, right? You basically fell back under these 2019 highs. So under 320 on this one, it might be sort of, you know, it might be sort of stuck, my friend. You need to get back over 320 if you're looking for this to be a long. You need to get back over this high right here. And the healthcare sector has just been taking a hit because of UNH a little bit. I think this chart looks very similar to UNH. I don't know if that's exactly why, but you know, there's definitely similarities on this move. But yeah, 320 on that one, man. I think you got to get back over these weekly highs. If not, you're going to get stuck in this consolidation range for quite some time probably. This consolidated in this range for almost a year. Right? That's a long time. So, yeah. All right, guys. We trade on a Zoom call together. There's like maybe 30 of us that trade on a Zoom call together on Wednesdays. Yeah. All right, guys. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope you have a fantastic trading day. I hope you learned something from today's live stream. I hope it helped you prepare for your day. Best of luck out there. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Peace. Peace and love.